Okay. Okay, so again, what's up? So, everybody, I'm here with Solo. He's a good friend of mine. Well, bro, I was thinking, I don't, are we, I'd say we're like, of the people I interact with from VMI, you're
Mm-hmm.
definitely one of the top ones. So I'd put you
Oh yeah.
up there. You know what I'm saying? So,
Especially after I graduated, I say the same thing.
yeah.
But
So,
my roommates, you people.
okay, so boom. Um, what we're going to be doing today is kind of just talking about our different philosophies on life. And so me, I'm I guess the correct verbiage would be like agnostic questioning with a question mark at the end. And then so I'm going to give you a chance to kind of just talk about who you are and what you're doing and whatever you want. Kind of some context.
I got you. Um. So yeah, like Julian said, I'm Solomon. We went to school together at VMI. Um. I guess from an early age, like I guess most people, just raised in the church. So I had like somewhat of a idea of like who God was and like went to like a Christian church, who God was, like what Jesus did and everything, but never really like truly like picked up the Bible and like opened it and like read it front to back, or just didn't really know the full context of what it meant, and it didn't really occur until I guess I matured. Like I think the sophomore year of college, I didn't. Uh, that's the time I really started to delve into it and see like why it's what I believe. Because like most people, when you're like raised in the church, it's usually because like your parents think
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. I thought about that. It's kind of just like Sunday. It's just what you
Yeah,
do as opposed to like
yeah.
you want to be there, you feel me?
And there's a lot of people society now who just have that. But I don't think anything you should go about that same mentality towards like just because it's something your parents taught you, just because someone told you. I think if you say you believe something, you need to have a defense for why, or understanding of why. Um, and it needs to have some depth to it. It can't just be like shallow, like I was initially. But then, like I said, sophomore year of college, really started just getting to the word more and do some more research in terms of theology and just um, some hints like evidence that we have towards uh, that. Well, that support my faith. I just started to get more into that and just see how um, it wasn't just something I believed just because my parents taught me, but I started to see where they merged, how like modern day research and research over the past few years have intertwined and in just a way supported my faith in that. I hope my uh, um, like Julie said, just talking here today to see, uh, I guess where our philosophy line, having two different backgrounds or two different, yes, walks or looks at life. So,
Mm.
goal is to really just talk to each other, understand where we're coming from. Hopefully, open up our minds to some new ideas that maybe we didn't think about before.
Fuck yeah. So, I wanted for sure like
Am I clear, by the way?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not.
I can hear you perfectly fine. Can you turn the camera to the side so I could just see you fucking bigger? Cause kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm?
Can you turn
Oh,
the
like Lance?
yeah, yeah. Oh, bro. Also, how's the your weightlifting shit going? I'm still peeping the Instagram. I'm definitely gonna link your all your socials in the description, etc.
Good, brother.
You might have to unlock it. Hell yeah. So, oh, also talk about bro, like physically what you're getting into and shit.
That's inverted on mine.
It's inverted on yours?
Well, I guess you're seeing me landscape right now, right?
Yeah.
Well, still, there's portrait on my phone.
Shit,
Sideways.
you can put it back. It's
That's
fine.
fine.
All
I
right.
don't
All right.
care. I
Okay.
don't know how much you can see me though if I move in. But
I have an idea.
oh no, physically right now, still just well, I got my strength and conditioning certification. So through the National Strength and Conditioning Association, they have
Nice.
a certified strength and conditioning coaching certification that I recently just got. I had to get CPR certified, so I wanted to obviously maintain my training and do that on the side. So applying to some like part time personal training jobs at different gyms in my area. Um, to do that along with my training. I'm just really maintaining right now. So I guess more so power building because I want to maintain strength, but also grow slowly, grow my strength slowly. So I'm not like on like a powerlifting specific split where I'm just focused on strength or bodybuilding specific split where I'm just focused on getting mass. But so sort of a combination of both, and then want to get more into training other people. And the third thing I wanted to get into, which we talked about before, is just MMA. But I think I'm waiting more so to see what my schedule is going to be like if I get a part-time job, personal training,
Yeah.
and then get it more into MMA. I'm just doing like for my cardio. Just my gym has a little small like boxing area, so I just go in there and just do different stuff I worked on with my cousin who boxed for a while. Just work on stuff that he taught me. I'm just really on my own right now, but because a lot of those MMA gyms, especially up here in Northern Virginia, like crazy expensive.
How much are they a month?
Like they run the cheapest is like 150 a month.
Yeah, no cap.
Yeah,
That's kind of how it is for real.
150 is like you only get that's like the base price. So like one class a week or two classes a week. If you want to do unlimited, it's like usually like 190 to 200 a month.
Damn.
Uh, the good thing about me being on Fort Belvoir, the military base up here, that's where I work. Um, they have a fight house where all like active duty or retired people or people who work civilian jobs are basically come and train. And I could do that for free, but I just haven't committed to doing that at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Is that the only time they have during the day?
5 o'clock, and then it's like 12. It's like the middle of the day,
Damn, they're
and
slim.
I could do that because like my boss isn't that strict about me being there the whole I guess lunch period. So if I did that, then I mean, it just take more time to like leave, shower, then come back and all that. It just seems a lot extra to me.
I guess my first question, bro, is why did you not want to go into the military coming out of school? So for context, both of us went to a military college, me and Solo.
Yeah.
So that's my first question.
Well, it was definitely an option going in. Why I went to VMI because I considered it an option. I was about to apply to like the Naval Academy, but because I was in not it wasn't associated with high school, but it was like a ROTC program you could do that was like unaffiliated from school. It wasn't like in association with any school. It's something I did like ninth and 10th grade, but I thought it was kind of whack, so I stopped doing it. But I still like the military.
Yeah.
Um, but I just wasn't sure of that commitment. Like, see, I didn't agree with like senior year you having to commit to like 4 to 8 years of service, like before you even know what like the next 4 years are gonna look like. You don't even know what's gonna happen then. So I actually did get an Army scholarship senior year that would have covered. It was a 3 year that would have covered either room and board or tuition, whichever one I chose. But I did decline that because that still came with the 4 to 8 year
Yeah.
commitment. And then I still ended up doing ROTC. I was doing like the Army track. I was on track to go to advanced camp and do all that stuff until I guess senior year. I guess fall of senior year, fall of first class year. I decided it just wasn't for me because I saw the main thing is I just saw the passion that mainly my roommates and just a lot of other people in my
Yeah, yeah,
class.
I feel that for sure, yo.
I know like the military is a thing for you, but I don't. I mean, a lot of people just like out of high school, like just really passionate about it. And they know that's exactly what they want to do, and I didn't want to commit that amount of time to something that many years afterwards to something that I wasn't that passionate about pursuing. So that was my main thing holding me back from it.
I still think about that now, like for the past for the past probably let's say 2 or 3 months since I graduated and I got a good stable job. I work 2 jobs, but the second job's not really a job. I just kind of sit around and fucking get paid. It's pretty awesome. But first job, like when I got that job, I was like, sweet. Now I can start, putting the Lego pieces together in other parts of my fucking life. And I started running this program from this Marine Corps officer fucking here in Raleigh. But very often I do think like, is this what I want or is this just like what I feel like I should do? And kind of like, what's the difference? Because it's hard to separate duty, in my head at least. It's hard to separate like duty from social pressure, because you and I kind of understand we have a duty to be masculine men and take care of the motherfuckers around us. It's kind of default, but it's hard to group other things in that category because there's not like a fucking manual to being a guy.
Yeah.
At least that I've understood. So I still question on the daily, but so I definitely I wrote hella shit to ask you.
Oh, you good.
So first question.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were planning to have like the personal catch up. I didn't know if you're planning to have that on the stream. I don't care.
Oh, for sure. Do you not want it?
No, I'm fine. I don't care. I just didn't ask.
It's just a conversation. This isn't anything formal. You're just talking to me, and then I'm just gonna record it and upload it. It's kind of the whole deal. The whole vibe of my channel is like kind of to be as organic as I can. There's this guy at so I work. I bounce on the weekends.
Yeah.
So fucking at the club I work at, some dude was like, "Why don't you do?" I was telling him about my YouTube channel. I gotta go way back in the past. So we're talking about something, yada yada, and he was like, "Whoa, you're a super insightful dude." I was like, "Yo, appreciate that. Check out the channel." And then he was like, "Yo, you should do like the Mr. Beast thumbnails." And I was like, "Dude, fuck that shit. Like, I'm not trying to do all that shit. I kind of just want to keep it like 2005 YouTube type vibe where I just kind of throw the camera on and just chat."
What is? I mean, I'm familiar with Mr. Beast. What are his thumbnails? I don't get on YouTube.
They're just. It's just like very curated thumbnails. Like it's the YouTuber vibe in general where they want you to click the video. So they'll put like I don't know, some bitch with her ass out, or Mr. Beast doing the face over a bunch of shits. It's like edited, very clearly edited footage, which I'm not really all for. I kind of want to just have it this.
Yeah.
This is a vibe I'm going for. So
I like this so far. So that was the motivation for it?
Yeah, bro. Like I hella talk to myself anyway, so I was like, shit, I'm just gonna film it and put it on YouTube. And low key, like, so every time I film a video, I watch it, and I kind of make sure my thoughts make sense in my head. That's kind of the way I formulate anything I come to the conclusion on, is by talking through it pretty much out loud. And if it makes sense, then I'm like, okay, that's an idea. That's a truth of mine. If it changes in the future, so be it. But like, that's kind of how I do it. And I'm kind of recording these videos, one, for other people to see if they want to. I don't really care. I'd be recording them regardless. But two, to kind of see how my mindset changes over time. So eventually, I'm gonna film like a fucking spirituality update. Yeah, I'm like in a while when shit changes, I'm gonna be like, spirituality now. You know.
I like that. I like that perspective.
Fucking dig it.
Okay. Cool. What do you want to mention? I told my girl I'd call her back at 10. Oh, I guess you're still Eastern Standard Time, so I guess we got an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, how has... So a little bit of more background he wanted to keep out because he's humble. He wrestled D1 at school. Also, he's a physics major. And fucking being in my head at least, being like a traditional Christian as a physics major kind of draws conflict inevitably. So how have you fucking wrestled with that over the last 4 or 5 years when you were in school?
Like what aspects, like specifically?
Because part of history and physics goes against some of the teachings in the Bible. For example, creation.
Like proven physics or theoretical? I guess most of it's theoretical that I've learned.
Yeah, well, theoretical physics, I guess you're still taught in schools. So, I'm talking about even hearing that in general. How did you react to these things going against the two things that you're taught in school and in the church?
Well, for one, that's where my own research really came into play, because church does not really go into depth about anything regarding how, I guess, creationism aligns with scientific research for how everything came to be. So yes, the church doesn't really go into that type of depth about it. So that's like I said, where I had to do my own studies, just watching various like Christian apologists who specifically focus in that area of.
What's an apologist? I don't know what that is.
So it's essentially someone who defends their faith. So you can have an Islamic apologist, or Muslim apologist, or a Jewish apologist. It's like I think it derives from the Greek word apologia, which means a defense for. So yeah, usually people who are of the faith, and they talk with people either of other faiths, or talk with atheists or agnostics, or people who are very science based. They'll label themselves as an apologist. It's just someone who doesn't really take like a pastoral approach to explaining their faith, but uses science as a way to use science and history as a way to back up their ideas of how their faith is true.
So I don't want to cut you off, but like part of the reason
Yeah.
why I wouldn't say walked away from the church, but I just didn't go back because
Mhm.
I went to a church and then my pastor got into some shit with the law. Turns out half of it was true, but he stepped down before the fucking trial even went to court. But after that, like me and my family just stopped going, and I didn't, actively seek the church. And part of it is because like I didn't feel like I was fucking getting anything out of it. I was just listening to this guy talk, but I didn't feel what he was saying, and I wasn't learning. And it was like, yeah, it was like Christian Baptist, African American Baptist, very loud, a lot of music, a lot of love in the air, a lot of feeling. But it's like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm not like
Hmm.
none of this is resonating with me logically, so I don't want to go back. You know what I mean? I'd rather spend
Yeah.
another 2 hours doing fucking something different. And
Hmm.
at the time, I understood that there's probably churches out there where I could find what I was looking for, but I just didn't I was in school. I didn't really care to look. So yeah, it's in general. I'm just saying that's part of the reason why I walked away.
Yeah. Well, that has another. Well, yeah, that has something else. So I guess you have with anything, for lack of better terms, like genres of churches. So some are called like charismatic, some are called liturgical. Charismatic are usually like black churches, and liturgical usually like white churches. But the black churches, like you said, loud music, uh, people acting up and running around, dancing and stuff like it. That scene is called or characterized by um, like a charismatic called a charismatic church. So, um, and I personally don't like that. So that probably, from what you're saying, it sounds like what you might have been into. And I didn't feel like I was getting that when I was initially going to a church like that throughout my entire childhood. So I don't think I grew that much. Like I think I did more learning just from what like my mom would teach me, or just what we would read together, and for what I would understand just reading, like I said, with her. But it wasn't until I started going to these or watching these like liturgical churches online, um, where it's more the church service is more so conducted like a Bible study in the sense, um, and it's more explanatory in terms of like what's being said in terms of the context, or like the story itself. And I think it's easier to understand. Um, it's just because of how they break it down. But I just noticed that was a big difference. That's all I'm going to say. It's just a big difference in some churches. So that you go to.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did you finish your thought about phys-
You were talking about something else before.
physics
Oh
and
no, no. Surprisingly, no. I never really questioned it. Yeah, not really. I didn't learn anything that was in opposition to either a Bible teaching that or that couldn't be concluded to be a result of what I believe is God's doing. Because most of the, like we talked about in our text messages, most of those processes that I learned, whether at the higher levels, like anything related to quantum physics or quantum theory, um, nothing is really just spontaneously created. Like it's all a process that happens at the same time. Like it has to circulate and has to, all the playing parts have to come into existence at the same time for the whole process to work. And like I said, like the chicken and the egg, like reference. It's like the most basic thing we can refer to. Like you don't really know like which one came first because both need to come into existence at the same time for them to be like a reality. So I never really questioned it in that sense because we never went in depth enough to really just figure out the why, the why behind it. Like we understand the how. I think that's really what science is. It's just the how stuff works, but we don't, or most people don't know the why behind it or why it's here in the first place. I think that's we get more into the deeper unconfirmed theory, like the why instead of the how.
So, two questions. One, and
Yeah.
these are kind of just off the top of my head. One, what do you think started everything? Like, do you believe in the legend of like the 7 days, or is that more of a parable, or do you believe in the Big Bang? And two, um, forgot, but I'll think about it.
Let me answer that one first.
Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I mean, I haven't done enough research in terms of the Big Bang theory to see how scientists came to the conclusion that that's how it originated. I don't, have you? I don't know if you've done that.
Well,
But I mean,
it's again like you said, it's a fucking theory. We have no
yeah.
idea. Oh, I remember my
I
second
remember.
question. My second question
Yeah.
was, how do you think life originated? Because
Mm-hmm.
I do know that on Earth, like we started with microorganisms, obviously, but we don't know. Some people say that lightning struck a couple cells and then or a couple things, and then it made a cell. And some people say it was God, but nobody really knows for sure. So my question was, being having a certification in physics and how the world works, fucking, what do you think started life?
Mm-hmm.
Second question. So the first question first.
All right. So the first question was
The
just
beginning.
how the Earth or universe came to creation. Um, and I was like, I do take the biblical perspective. I don't necessarily have a concrete idea on the exact amount of time. Like some people are 7 day creationists, so like a literal seven days. Um,
And I think like being surrounded by those people, at least personally, I was like, really, 7 days?
you know,
I don't know. But if it's something bigger that I'm missing, then
well, I'm saying there's still. I don't think everybody in the church agrees with it because it's not really explicit in terms of like what a day is to God. Because there's a verse in I see the book of Thessalonians or First Peter that talks about what says a day for the Lord, a day for God is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. So just the phrase that, or the idea that him, what we believe him being outside of time, like he sees time differently. So what may seem like a day to us, he could have done in a shorter amount of time than that, or the day that's mentioned in the book of Genesis when it says the earth or the sun was created, like on the first day or second day. That could actually be like a 1,000 year period, or if it's just an analogy, like there's some stuff that just because of translation we don't have like an exact idea of that I would personally still consider a mystery in terms of the exact duration, but at the foundation, like at the center of it, I would still say God in the beginning because I don't think, even if we're talking about atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, they still can't, as we see today, they still don't just come into existence just by themselves. So they still
yeah,
have to. No, it's cliche to say, but they still just don't come from nowhere.
yeah.
And like science doesn't really have a, or at least not yet, doesn't have a good explanation for how even the first two atoms that collided together that created the Big Bang doesn't have a good explanation for where those two atoms came from.
Would you say that? To me, it seems rather convenient that the Earth was, allegedly created in 7 days, regardless of 1,000 years or actually 7 days. And this is after we came up with calendars where there are 7 days in a week. It seems rather convenient that it's not, 10 days. and I don't know if you can answer this or not, but is this theorem of like time distortion congruent throughout the entire Bible, where 1,000 years is one day, and if we see another mention of the word day and God's involved, it equals 1,000 years, or does it kind of flip flop? Because to me that would be kind of confusing if I was reading the Bible.
Mm, no, because I would say the Bible does do a good job of, and I haven't done it personally, but I mean, it's definitely could go online and look at it because I have before, but I haven't looked at the Bible and seen like the time periods, but people have online. I've just like watched them do it, but you can look at like the time periods or reigns of different kings or different people that it talks about. The Bible does reference a lot. Like at the end of someone's life, says how long they lived. So it does a good job of like repeating that information, so you get an idea of like what time period they're in. Also, just looking at um, like archaeological finds that we found from that time period,
Mm.
on stuff that they've used that existed during specific time periods that are talked about in the Bible. We can get a general idea of, okay, this person existed during this time period, or stuff like that. I think, or just other historical documentations that we have existing that was able to prevail until the modern age that we can date back to those times. It's more so like New Testament stuff. It's more recent, but I think just those two sources, just physical evidence like archaeological finds, artifacts, and stuff, and then historical documents can allow us to see that most stuff in terms of like years when it's talking in the Bible when it's talking about years is literal. So I think the only real reference that there's some question comes into play is the creation story, because everything else um, is pretty literal in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yeah. Because like I said, it has like the duration of how long people live, so you see that like not that much time is elapsing. And as soon as one of the main characters dies, um, you see the uprising of the next one, and that's who the next book focuses on, and then so on and so on. So you see not that much time is elapsing. So I think it's all that to say. I think it's all literal um, in terms of how it ages and how it progresses. Like I said, the creation story is just. I think that's what really only comes into question because no human was there in comparison
Yeah.
to everything else written. That's all. That's just the first chapter of the Bible. Everything else after that, there's a man there who's writing or recounting what happened. So I don't know if does that answer your question. Or?
Yeah, I didn't consider that as an option where God was outside of our time, at least for Genesis. I didn't
Yeah.
think of that. You can feel free to ask me a question too. These are pretty fucking hard questions I'm throwing at you. I understand that. So
No,
if
no,
you,
you good. Yeah, I didn't know which direction you wanted to take. Because I know we talked about some of the stuff last time we were texting. So I didn't know if you wanted to go back to any of that.
like what? Do you have anything in
Well,
mind?
just like no, I have some questions. But, I just didn't know if there was going to be a flow to anything because my questions generally have. I mean, what's obviously is connected in some way. But let's see.
I mean, I haven't even asked you any of the questions on my list actually.
Oh, okay,
This is just like conversation flow questions. So I'll ask you
okay,
first. Let's go with the first one. So, oh well,
yeah.
yeah, I did actually. Um, One of them was talk about your experience as a physics major, how your experience as a physics major has shaped your faith. I said that. Um, oh, what are your thoughts on the divine plan? Have you seen my divine plan video? If not, I'll just
Yeah, I
explain it.
want to talk to you about. Yeah, I want to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Well, first I have to get your understanding of what a divine plan is.
So to me, a divine plan is it follows a similar like transcription to fate, where everything is kind of written hence the word plan, at least as I understand it. If it wasn't planned and, shit could change, it wouldn't be very much of a plan. I do understand, like, in life, plans are dynamic and they could kind of flow and shit like that, but that would take a lot of the divinity out of it to me if shit just happened as it happens. So in my head, a divine plan is something that is set beforehand by by the divine, so maybe God, and can't really change. And so, as I was thinking, it was kind of like, isn't everything we do predetermined? And if so, then a lot of things don't make sense. But if not, I don't know why not.
How far in depth would you go to say that everything is predetermined, like big decisions, like big events, or even like the smallest thing, like
If a fucking piece of grain on the sand in the beach goes into the water and then another piece of grain doesn't, and they separate and split 1,000 miles apart, that is written in whatever book he has in my head.
mm,
Like in my head, every single thing was planned and is planned. If it is the case, then again, I've never looked up the definition of a divine plan. I don't have a great understanding of it. This is kind of the definition I've drawn and what I've concluded personally. But
I mean, so to that you would say that humans don't have like free will then? Like based off your video, you don't think they do, or you're still questioning it?
based off of the logic of, if the divine plan exists, then no. But if it doesn't, or if there's an alternate definition that I'm not yet aware of, then maybe yeah. But like otherwise, then no. From free will, like to, well, of course we perceive like decisions as, I think I talked a little bit about this, is like us choosing to do something as opposed to something else. But it's not, that's never like spontaneous. We never choose something out of no reason. Oh, I'm gonna go to the store today. It's probably because you need shit from the store, or you haven't been to the store in a while, so you feel spontaneous, but it's really not. It's just because you
Yeah,
haven't been to the store in a fucking few days. Or if you're,
yeah.
or my example with the motorcycle, it's like, no, you chose the one you like.
Hmm.
So in your brain, like, the other option wasn't even an option. So it's like, did you choose it? So like, I feel as though, and this is kind of congruent with how people are very victim to circumstance, and the lives they're born into and shit like that just kind of happens between your parents, your upbringing, and then also the way your brain is just fucking shaped. It's just, you just do shit, and then stuff just kind of happens. And it's like, yeah, you get to experience certain things, but I don't really think you ever choose anything.
I think I would define it a little bit differently to answer. Well, maybe I have to define those terms to really answer the question. That is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Um, so from my view and how I see the world, how I see the, like what the Bible says, like what Scripture says, I think free will is more so just the opportunity of choice. Even if, like you said, even if you have a higher inclination to side with one thing than the other, that doesn't discount the fact that the other thing was still an option. Um,
Uh,
you broke up. What you say?
I said, why not? Why would it not discount that as an option?
I mean, for those particular circumstances, then that could have been why you chose that route. But if a particular circumstance changed, like you said, then the other option could have been either more feasible or been more opportune. So I guess it does. Like, go ahead.
In my head, the only option there is the feasible and opportune option. So from the outside looking in, I see what you're saying where there are two options, and if I'm watching my son pick between ice cream flavors, in my head he has two options, and I go, okay, I don't know what
Hmm.
option he's gonna pick because there's multiple. But in his head, in his psyche, in his taste buds, in the motor functions, he's gonna fucking choose the one that he wants, regardless of the other options. It's like they're not even there. And of course, he'll see them and he'll go, oh, I like this one. I've had this one before, and he was inevitably gonna choose that one, regardless of if there's anything else there. I think. Now, if he chose pineapple or something, then maybe it's because he'd never had pineapple before. And this is just a base example of like choice or whatever.
No, yeah, I'm following. Yeah.
You could draw this between like choosing colleges or choosing cars or choosing spouses or whatever. But I think the the fucking facilities of, like you said, opportunity and the other thing, forgot, opportunity and something else. I think that's kind of congruent among all choices. So with that in mind, you can kind of draw the same logic, I think. So again, with his son, like, let's say he chose pineapple for some reason. Fucking, it's probably because he wanted to try it and he's never seen it. So the brain wants something new and
Mhm.
fashionable, which in my head at least is inevitable.
Mhm. I see what you're saying. Have you heard of the term like determinism?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it means.
It was essentially the same thing you're saying. Like, well, it doesn't even use like I guess it would more so use fate. It doesn't even really use like God as the thing orchestrating
It's secular.
everything to happen the way it happens. It just yeah, it just happens because that's wherever your inclinations are. This what's going to happen. Like you said in the video, you're not going to choose something that's outside of the norm, outside of what you're more inclined to do. So there's no way of getting around that. Um, so this whole topic, I don't think there's any concrete. Before I do give my answer, I don't think there's any concrete answer about how exactly it works. Um, I do see what you're saying about how it doesn't seem like there's an option. I think from looking at it from that perspective, it doesn't seem like it because like you said, why would you choose something or why would the kid choose something that outside of what he normally gets? If he like always gets vanilla, why would he choose chocolate if he only gets vanilla unless he wanted to try something?
Exactly. And if you wanted to try something, then you know,
That's still following that inclination to want to try something new.
exactly. So yeah,
But
you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think that's how free will and choice just works though. I think that's just the label as humans that we've given it. Um, some people just argue over the exact label. So some people may say that's determinism. This is not going to be a straightforward answer. I don't think I can answer that straightforward. Some people may label that as free will. Some people may label that as determinism. But I really think is to a point you mentioned earlier, the perspective from which you looked at it, or what you think of the word, or what you think of the idea of like something being another opportunity or another choice. Because like I said earlier, that being there shows that you had other options, and you could have very well like decided to use or do or get those things, whatever the other thing was. Um, I think free will by itself is just the ability to do that. Even though I have an inclination to choose or do something, it doesn't mean I don't have the ability to go choose and do this other thing. Even though I'm still more inclined to choose this thing that I normally do. Uh,
What do you think would cause you to choose something that you weren't inclined to do?
I think something that I personally know, like, well, this goes into another question that I want to get into, but I don't know. Um,
All right, shoot.
something that I didn't answer the other question. Well, I didn't ask the other question that was related to the last topic that we were talking about. I just thought it was interesting that these questions are your questions are intertwined with mine. Um, well, I think for one, inclination is very subjective and relative. Like it matters from like person to person. So I think if there's like some objective form of truth or objective knowledge or objective like fact, um, superior. I think anything objective is superior to what's subjective. If that is opposite or inverse or contradicts my inclination, I think something that's objectively true could be something that changes my inclination to do something if they don't align. I don't know if that
Okay,
makes sense.
it does make sense. So
You
if
know,
yeah, I understand what you're saying. So if you have the inclination to do something, are you talking about something that would be objectively a better choice, or something objectively true? Because
but yeah, what's it? I think either one really.
objective truth. What is objective
Well, I
truth to you?
think
So
what's objective truth to me?
to you, what's objective truth mean?
Something that is true for everybody, like at all places, at all times.
Is this is it only science related, or is it also theological, or both? Or does it have to be does it have to be proven, or is it just the human experience?
I don't think the human experience is a reliable
Yeah,
source at all times.
yeah, fair.
Um, I mean, as a Christian myself, I would say that like God and His Word is an objective truth, and that is a source and reason why of the like many decisions that I may make or other Christians may make. So, like something above yourself, like I said, that's true for not only just you, but also everybody else at all times, at every minute, everywhere. It's always true. It's something that you aren't able to change. So it's unchangeable. Because if it was changeable, that would make it like subjective. Or if you were able to like add your own piece to it, that would be still make it subjective, or only relative to like a certain person or certain group of people.
Yeah, I definitely
So
feel like.
it has to be.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think it has to be it has to be something established and already in place outside of the thing that it's applied to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I definitely noticed like so. I'll say this. I fucking it's hard to like disagree with any of the sentiments in the Bible. It's very difficult to do that because logically they make sense. Like a lot of the things that it says about life and the human endeavor are just like very difficult to argue against. So
What are your main? No. Go ahead.
I'll say that like I think the Bible like is if everybody believed in the world would for sure be a better place. But I'm just having difficulty believing in God as a whole. That's where I'm kind of on the fence. So, like, I've definitely found myself following certain sentiments I've heard about in the Bible, and things have gotten easier, and I've found myself in a lot more peace. So I'll for sure say I believe in the Word, but as
Mm-hmm.
in believing in God as it's presented in the Bible, I don't know. Now I do believe for sure in like something above me, but I don't know
Yeah.
if I can bring myself to believe in God as He's described in the Word, which is ironic because I say I believe
I
the
mean,
Word, but
what attributes or what specific characteristics or what events or stories lead you to that
primarily
position?
the easy one, the innocent suffer, that one, and I've heard the argument that um, I think what did I say once? I think I commented under some Instagram post or something, and I was like, "Well, why do the innocent suffer?" And then I got a lot of messages that said because humans have free will, but that didn't really answer the question. But like I've like thought about it myself, and I really can't come to a conclusion that doesn't paint God as someone who just kind of watches.
Hmm.
Which to me, like in a supreme being, like that's just not good enough. If these
What
are
would
like
you,
his children, you know what I mean?
or are all people his children?
According to him, I believe so.
I would have to disagree.
Really? Why?
I think all of mankind is made in the image of God. So, like how we all have an intelligent mind, like he has, we have, or we can experience everything on the emotional spectrum as he does. Obviously, he does it all in control. We take our emotions out of control. Um, then the image of Jesus Christ Himself were made in that fleshly human image. But they were all made in His image. But children or becoming a child of God comes with a choice. Um, and like at the fall of man, like the old story of like Adam and Eve, that's where that, from at least from a Christian perspective, from reading the Word, that's really where the divide uh, began. Like we chose to disobey. So from then on, generationally after them, in order to become children of God, since we initially chose it, then Adam and Eve said, "Okay, I don't want to do the simple things you told me not to do. I don't want to do the things you simple things you told me to do. But I want to give into what I want to do." Once we chose that, we chose that we don't want God as our Father, or we don't want to be under His control, and we essentially chose self rule instead of His rule. And I think that's the point, at least from a biblical perspective, and when we chose not to become or not to be His children anymore. So it takes like an act of, which I know you had a hard time. Well, you said you have a hard time understanding that the concept and idea of faith. You felt like, I know last time we talked, you felt like you didn't really have this much.
Yeah, it's to me it sounds like
Um,
kind of paradoxical.
but it's just, sorry, just to close on my point, that's the step you take to become like a child of God. Like when you actually choose Him through faith. What do you mean? What do you think is paradox?
Because to believe you have to have faith, but to have faith you have to believe. So if I
So what do you define faith and belief?
so faith is so I'd say belief is having strong conviction that something is or isn't. That's belief. And then faith is trusting that that conviction is true and that the things that follow that conviction are also true.
And you don't think that they come simultaneously or at the same time?
Well, to believe, you have to have faith in. I think you have to have. Fuck. How do I say this? Like, I don't think there's any belief without faith, and I don't think there's any faith without belief, because what would you have faith in if you don't believe? So for me, I don't believe that there is at least a traditional, God in the Bible in the sky right now. Maybe I will in the future, I don't know. But right now I don't. And as a result, I don't have faith. But if I
Yeah.
but like I can't have faith and not believe. And I also can't believe and not have faith, because then you don't believe. So like they go hand in hand, and to have one
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
to have the other.
Not necessarily.
Why not?
Um, for it's like forewarning. Most of my examples are going to be probably like biblical examples, but in the book of James, James is like one of Jesus' like half brothers, either the one of the sons of like Joseph, Jesus' earthly father, or whatever. Um, James talks about, he's essentially sending this letter to reprimand or call out this church that he's um, been in connection with, um, because they've sort of been taking their faith for really taking their faith for granted. They're just saying I believe in God, I believe in Jesus and the sacrifice, but then in turn still living the same way they used to live, not like taking up that life of
Yeah,
obedience
yeah,
in
they're
terms
like
of
fake
all the
Christians.
commandments. I wouldn't say fake. Like they truly had that belief, but they weren't like you couldn't see by like their works or by their actions, or you couldn't see by their physical appearance. Like they might have had an inward appearance of what they believed, but the physical appearance or um, like how they portrayed themselves, how they behaved, their lifestyles didn't show that this is what you believe. Because I think if you truly believe something, your outward, like a belief is like something inward, but your outward, everything you do outside, what people see is going to be evident of what you inwardly believe. If like that's something that's you truly have something you truly have faith in. And one thing that James mentions is that sort of like call them out or convict them is that even the demons believe there's a God, but they don't have like that trust or they don't have like that faith in him for like the saving power that he has. They don't have that same relationship. So you can separate belief from faith because, like you said, the belief is just in the existence of something. Like the demons just believe that God exists, but they don't trust in his power or in his ability to save them from. They can't, but humans can. But they can't save in his power. They can't trust or have, like you said, have faith in his power to save them. So from like a human perspective, you can have people who believe in a God, but if they haven't put their trust and faith in a particular God haven't put their faith and trust in a particular God um, to bring them to heaven or save them from something, then like you said, what's the point of believing? So I think you can separate the two. It's not probably don't see it that often because it doesn't really make sense. But I think it is possible. Um, like I said, belief is just in the existence of something. But like you said, faith is the trust in their ability to do something, usually based off something that they've done in the past or something that they've promised. Um,
Yeah, that's a good
and
way
I
to,
think
that's
that's
a good way to
why
explain it.
that's that's what I think that's what's really, at least for me, breathtaking about scripture. Usually, you read like the Old Testament, and most people, especially just coming to the faith, think it's boring. But a good way of looking at it is like obviously the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, tell us of Jesus' life and everything that he did during then. The epistles and letters to the churches after that tell you of what like happened after his life and what's going to happen later in the future through prophecy. But the Old Testament is really the foundation that shows you why he had to come in the first place and gives you all like the background of who God is and what he did in the past so that you can put your faith in Jesus. Like after the time you read through the Old Testament, okay, then you get to understand like there are all these stories. So God did this for this person, God did this for this group of people. Or he didn't do this for this group of people, he didn't do this for this person. You understand who he is as a person in that sense. So by the time you get to the Gospels, where it teaches of the message of Christ, where it teaches the gospel, and it tells you or encourages you to make a decision about Christ and who he is, and accepting um, his sacrifice, you can base it off what God has done in the past to trust that as a reliable source to say, okay, I know God has done this, like I said, for these people, so I can trust that through Jesus he'll do so and so. For me, that's sort of the mindset I have behind it. Or I think that's the mindset that the Bible has brought to me, developed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you explained it really well. That definitely makes sense. So I guess technically I would categorize myself as someone who believes in something higher but doesn't have faith that it is your God.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're agnostic.
Yeah.
Agnostic, yeah.
I guess agnostic is questioning the existence, period, of anything.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So, do you believe that? This is just a side question. Do you think it could go the other way around, where you have faith but you don't believe? Is that even possible? It doesn't.
No,
I don't think
unfortunately,
it makes
I don't.
sense.
Yeah, I don't think the inverse is possible.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, the demon example is really good. Definitely
Yeah.
answered the question. All right, you want me to go, or you want to go?
Oh yeah, I'll ask something. Dang, I gotta see. All right, do you
Wait, hold on one sec.
believe? Okay,
I'm gonna delete some videos
we
from.
probably got. We're gonna have to do a part two anyway.
Fuck yeah, nice.
That's pretty good. Because we gotta talk about. I mean, I like talking about this stuff too, but I don't like want to talk about like more modern day.
Okay, part two will be modern
Like
day.
ideas about life too.
That'll be part two. Part two will be modern day.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess it's, I don't know how we want to phrase this question. So I said the base question is, what is a spiritual? Sorry, what is a human? And I added to that, are you a soul with a body with a soul, or just a body? So really, the question is, do you believe that a soul is the thing? If so, what is a soul? And that,
To me, the soul is the unconscious mind, and kind of
yeah.
nothing, and kind of nothing more and nothing less. I don't right now. I don't believe that like you go anywhere after you die, or
Mm,
that your soul carries on. I think your soul is can be taken care of and nurtured j- because it's your unconscious mind, and I think that the way you treat it has a direct effect on the way you feel in real life. And like, if you surround yourself by shitty people, your soul will bleed, and then you'll fucking feel that in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So, to me, the soul is the unconscious mind. That's what it is. But I don't know if it's separate from the body. I don't think it can go anywhere or do anything extraterrestrial. I don't think it belongs anywhere else than where it is.
mm,
And I think a human is not much different from a lot of other organisms that we see every day. I think that we're more intelligent than them and we're capable of more, but I just don't see what makes us the only ones who are capable of experiencing the divine. I don't understand why. So I'd say that we're just kind of a collection of cells and atoms, and then when we die, we go back
mm,
into the universe, and then in 40,000 years, we'll just be a
yeah.
blip. We'll be a blip in the fucking timeline, and then Earth will spin. I don't think pollution does anything to the planet. It does things to people. You know what I mean? So like, put a bunch of plastic in the ocean, whatever. 10,000 years, it won't fucking matter. The Earth's not going to tilt off its axis, and the human race will be dead and gone. So because of that, because of the fact that I think that's primarily what it is that I don't think we'll last like 100,000 years, and because of that, I don't see us as special as some people may be led to believe.
Mm, okay. I just want to hear your thoughts about that. Most of these questions, I just want to hear your thoughts on. Just to see what my,
All right, I was
I
waiting
don't
on it.
really, I don't really have a. I mean, respond guy. I could tell you what I believe about that, but I don't really
If
have
you
a
want to just
response.
fire him off, I'll just answer him. It's whatever you want.
I guess I'm more so after. So I remember you telling me something similar to that, but I mean, I guess a question to one thing you mentioned, like us being just like a clump of like cells or whatever. Do you think that has the things that we do in this life? That's really all we are. Is that where's the purpose in that? You think?
That's a question. So I think if you have if you come to the conclusion, so if you come to the conclusion of like um it's not like specifically nihilism, but it's like a sect of it that's actually interpreted wrong from what I understand, where it's like nothing fucking matters. It's not really what it
Mhm.
is. It's but I couldn't off the top of my head tell you what the exact definition is. But if you're one of those people who are just discovering nihilism, then yeah, it can be kind of daunting to think that nothing fucking matters and that once you die, you die. But regardless if the movie ends, like I still want to eat fucking snacks during it. You know what I'm saying? Like I definitely want to
Yeah.
enjoy my time on the earth. And that's why
Hmm.
I think that's why I'm so keen on like having kids and having an impact, so that me and my people can fucking exist as long as possible. To me, that's kind of it. Um, yeah.
What do you think it would take for you to realize or come to the conclusion that there is something more? Would you need, like, I know one video you said you the type of person that needs like physical or
Yeah,
tangible evidence.
I don't know about physical or tangible. I just need like an intimate experience, which I haven't had.
Mm.
And
What do
also,
you think?
fucking speaking of this, sorry,
Uh,
but how do you know when God is talking to you and it's not just you?
because it goes against my desires. Like I know in my heart, like what I want usually. And that's well, I think. Let me back up. I think prayer and for me, prayer and reading go hand in hand. And I think when you do both in combination, that's how you really one like build your relationship with God, so you are able or more keen to hear what He's saying to you. Because prayer is usually you talking to Him, and the Word really Him telling you like what He wants or what He has for you, or His will. So I think when you talk to Him and ask Him for direction or guidance, um, and He opens doors in your heart to be more susceptible to various things you read or various events in your life that I think you may have prayed for. I don't think it's. I've never had like an audible voice. I don't. I mean, some people may tell you they've had audible voice, but that's not the case at all. It's usually like I think how one like events align in your life in combination with things that you read,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
combination with that small like voice in the back of your head that still may sound like the voice that's usually in your head, but it goes against internally
So,
what you desire before you started like your relationship with God.
so follow up question:
Mm.
how do you know for sure that that voice in the back of your head isn't a result of your unconscious mind adjusting and kind of fucking molding to the word that you're now absorbing? How do you know that it's divine, as opposed to just because it could be anything. If you read a Bible about, if you're a Satanist, if you read the
Mm.
Satanist Bible, you'd hear the same shit. I believe. I think it'd be like kind of the same effect where your mind is kind of changing due to the fact that you're absorbing something new and you're absorbing a new set of fucking convictions and rules about the life you're living. So they hear the devil, you hear God, and my question is, what's the difference? How do you know there's a difference?
That's a good question. I would say like for one, definitely. Um, well, I would phrase like I mean, just off the Satanist. Well, I wouldn't even go off that. I couldn't go off that. I think most things that you read usually coincide with something that's already a part of human nature, like out the womb, which you're usually inclined to do. Um, and I guess the fact that the Bible takes it to a different level in terms of the consistency or the level or the depth to which you're supposed to um, whether treat people or behave a certain way. I think that that level is still something that doesn't really or isn't really formed just by your own thought. I think you can still probably if you want you can still view it that way, but personally I don't think how I work because I see how I've read or studied other information. I don't think I've had as strong as inclinations or, like you said, convictions with those things as I have with the level like just reading the word is taking me to. I don't. That probably doesn't make sense, but trying to figure out a better way to word it.
Are you saying that? Are you saying that because you don't? If so, if you were reading the Satanist Bible, you couldn't fathom it because it wouldn't make sense to you because you can't relate to anything that's in it in real life. And in the Bible, you see a lot of shit and you read a lot of shit and it fucking goes together like Lego pieces. So because of that, the voice must be real because the word says it is. Is that similar to what you're trying to say?
No, no.
Shit. Get up and walk around. Gotta get the fucking brain juices going. This is a hard ass conversation. I'm doing a lot. Can you hear me? I'm doing a lot of thinking over here, man. Shit.
These are some good questions. I think this is your best one.
I'm using like literally
like I
100.
said,
Like,
what was up?
go ahead.
I was just saying. I think it's really just a combination. Like what I was mentioning earlier. I think it's the combination of various things that support what I hear God telling me. I think it's those things compounded upon what I hear Him telling me that really reinforce my faith in it, or that my conclusion that those ideas that He's given me is not from my unconscious mind. So like I said, if I see things new coming in to like my life, like I guess can't use the word because that would still be the main thing influencing me to think that certain way. So if I see or have other people or hear other people telling me the same thing, or go through different external experiences, like day-to-day experiences where I see whether it's people or a certain event leading me to think or act in a certain way that's congruent with what Scripture says. I think that's what I guess more personally for me just really reassures me that that voice is true. I don't think that does your question justice.
I see what you're saying. I have this question. This next question I'm going to ask you is going to be kind of crazy. How do you know that if you were currently reading, or if not you, if someone was currently, how do you know if someone was currently reading the Satanist Bible, surrounded by Satanists, and saw the parallels in life? How do you tell them that the voice isn't real? Because by the same logic, they draw the same conclusions because that's all of the content they're consuming.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I really had to do my, like I said, really my apologetic study, because I think it's more than just, it's definitely more than just a so-called feeling or voice from God. It's more than just reading the Bible in front of you. If you want to really and truly understand why, like I wanted to do, understand why Christianity was the only and true faith from my perspective, you have to see why the other ones are canceled out. And I think a lot of things that support the Christian faith are like the evidence that we have for like eyewitness testimony, different historical documents that were written, like I said, during the same time period. I think it's those external things like the article facts, the fact that it aligns with like emotional consistency. I think it's all those points that align with it that provide as evidence outside of just the text that lead me to believe that my notions or what I feel what I feel God is telling me is true, and I don't think any other religion has the same or can have the same amount of evidence that I think Christianity poses. Because Satanism, if we're going to use that example, has no
Yeah, there's definitely no evidence.
there's no depth to it. It's just something that a guy in like maybe 19 or 1800s made. You got like read a book, and it's like Satan has his own. I don't know if you've read it. Like his own like 10 Commandments in there. Um, are you familiar with their book?
Not at all.
Uh, I haven't read it fully, but I know they have like 10 Commandments that are like the opposite of what inverse or like a slightly altered version of what the commandments are in the Bible. But
That was kind of doomed to fail because it's hard to argue with the Ten Commandments.
if we're looking at Islam, which is like not the biggest but the fastest growing religion in the world right now, in terms of quantity, it's only second to Christianity. If we're talking about that, then that's when you really have to go in depth too. Like looking at people. I'm going off of the tangent right now, but just to I'll circle back. But like people at certain periods of time in like the New Testament, seeing if they were like real people or seeing if the Bible like mentioned people who actually existed. I think when you're able to align it with things like that, and then seeing how other people during that time that these writings existed wrote stuff about that intertwined with what's going on here in the Bible. I think that's when you start to make those connections that makes it more reliable. Because when we're talking about Islam, for example, that's just written by. I don't think that's. I could go on a whole rant about that, but I think it's more so just. Well, it's one guy written who writes a book 600 years after most of the Bible is put together and after the major events of the Bible, but he puts his own spin on it and convinces millions that what he's saying is true and that something that happened 600 years before him is not true. When the Bible has like over 40 authors,
Does the
like
Quran detest the Bible?
In a way, it's contradictory. That's a whole nother topic. It's a little contradictory. It considers it's like Jews, like Judaism, Jewish people. They have the Torah. Christians have the Bible, sometimes called the Gospel. Usually referred to the New Testament as the Gospel. And the Quran says that both are previous revelation from God, but key components, or the key component that the gospel that the Bible teaches that like Jesus is like God in the flesh and that he died on the cross and was resurrected. Like those, I don't know, I'm burping so much. Those two key components, the Quran says that Jesus was just like an empowered prophet sent by God. So not really God in the flesh. And then they would say that he didn't die on the cross and he wasn't, and therefore didn't have to be resurrected. He was just taken up by God. So those, being that like the cross and the resurrection is like a pivotal event in Christian theology in the Bible itself, is where the contradiction comes into play. Because I think they more so like to say like the teachings of Christianity, they support the teachings of the gospel supports, but their main claim is that they think that it was corrupted or somebody changed the words or something like that. But there's no concrete evidence for that either. That's still also just one guy, Muhammad, who wrote the Quran, going against what numerous authors wrote, like I said, hundreds of years prior. Which seems really, really backwards to me how some people could still not do their research on that. But then they use the Torah as well, which is what Judaism uses, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. And they use some of like the prophetic books that come afterwards. But um, even some, well, they pretty much base that off. They pretty much base their faith off many of the events that happen uh, in those stories as well, or in those events as well. But it's mainly the gospel that they say is corrupt or not really. I guess the main word you use is just corrupt or not really congruent with what they believe. I forget what was the main question. I got off topic.
Ooh.
I was talking about.
How do you
I
know? How do
brought
you?
up Islam to show how there aren't as many. Like I said, there aren't like. So I was comparing the different religions and wise. I think the Bibles. All I was saying was that the Bibles more so like reliability in terms of like a historical context, in terms of um, like cross reference you could make from, like I said, over hundreds of years, over some with thousands of years that the Bible was written and still come into like one complete story or one complete book is still, I think, very more astonishing to me. Also, be written by 40 different authors is more astonishing to me than one book is one book written by one person. If we're talking about like Islam, or if we're talking about like the Book of Mormon, or I don't know who wrote Jehovah's Witness. I don't know who wrote that. Jehovah's Witness has their own like secondary revelation that like comes after the Bible. I forgot what that guy's name was.
Oh, really?
Um,
Jehovah's Witnesses come to my apartment all the time, and they read me shit from the Bible.
mm, they don't.
Maybe they're
It's
fakers.
not. It's not. Yeah. Well, just yeah. I don't want to go into that too. That's another uh, pipeline we can go down later. But yeah, I think like all I to say is the reliability that or from what I've seen, the reliability that the Bible has makes it come out on top if we're comparing it to um, other religions in terms of like the evidence or the support that we have for certain events that took place. At least for me, show that the book itself is more. Um, if we're comparing more truth than something else, so that's why I would be able to have more faith in
Mm.
that than something else. But I know you asked, how would you convince somebody, and that's also a good question. I mean, the goal is not really. I'm not trying to. If I'm ever talking to somebody, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. It's just exploring, or yes, exploring or sharing with them what I believe to be true, calling them to just question or at least have a reason for what they believe and what they think to be true. I'm never really like trying to convince anybody, but um, I think like religion change is like really something that it's like a deep, very intimate, personal event that something usually a very intimate or monumental has to happen in a person's life for them to have a whole like religion change.
Right.
Well, I guess it depends on how. I guess it also depends on how deep they are into it or how mature in the faith they are. Because I think if you're like a very mature Muslim, it's going to be hard for you to convert to Christianity or Hinduism or Buddhism. But if you're like a beginner to the faith and you barely know anything about Islam at all, it's going to be like, oh, okay, I just didn't know. When you just start reading the Bible, and you just like the next day you just make a decision to choose something else.
Mm.
So I think it's like it's really just like the research you do behind it in terms of like what. I know we don't have all the facts. Um,
For me, this is part of my research is asking you all these fucking hard ass questions.
I would definitely say go beyond me because there are people that have been doing this like for a living longer than I've been alive. But I'll send you. There's one video I want to send you to see your thoughts on it.
I think you already did. Is it the one with the animation and it's like, why did Oh, never mind.
Oh no, no, there's like an hour long video. that I watched the other day. Yeah. You don't have to watch it if you want to, but
I'll check it out.
um, I think. Well, sorry, just to I guess close out that question. I think that's the main thing that really, um, at least for me, leads me to believe that when I hear God speaking, He's really speaking because of how, like I said, how He spoke to people in the past, like what He's already done, and seeing that done again. I think that's one source of reliability, but also just how uh, events play out in life, how they also align, how what people say to me, or how I see them behave, or how I see them interact, or um, them explaining their thoughts about different stuff I see, even more how it aligns. I think it's not just like one taking one thing. I think it's looking at all of it and seeing where they all intersect, where they all meet. Is what really just shows me that this is more true than something else. Because I don't think anything else, whether you're looking at like Satanism or Islam, I don't think they all have that same. Keep using this word. I don't know why congruency that Christianity has, or they don't meet in all the same places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like all the same arrows pointing to them as Christianity does. That's the reason why I think that. Well, I'm pretty sure of that.
All right, we'll do another 10 minutes because it's 9:45. Because I know you got to get on the phone with the lady.
I got 9:35.
Yeah,
What time you got?
34. That's why I'm saying another 10 minutes. So it give you 15 minutes to chill out a little bit.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I only asked one question. I had five, but I guess I had six.
You only asked one on the list.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You can shoot another if you want.
yeah, I'm looking now. Hold on.
These are good questions. They're causing me to kind of affirm my thoughts.
I don't know what order I want to ask. Okay. We touched on it briefly through text, but this will have to do with morality. Where do you think that comes into play? Does it exist? Are there certain objective moral guidelines, or is it just like a human construct? What do you think about? What comes to mind when you just hear the word morality
Uh,
in society?
the first word I think of is utilitarianism. So
Mm-hmm.
so
Why?
because to me it just makes the most sense, like logically. Um, the most good for the most amount of people, as opposed to the latter, the most good for the least amount of people. Probably odds are isn't the best, unless that population will grow eventually. But I believe the best act to do is the one that's the most virtuous, and then from there, from those two, I kind of draw uh, conclusions to either what is the best moral guideline or what is the thing to do that's the best in terms of morality, I believe. So,
So, I mean, why do something for somebody else instead of just bringing yourself up higher?
because it feels good, and maybe you'll learn. It depends. It's situational. The
Mm.
question's extremely situational. Do you have a specific example?
I know I didn't have one on mine.
Uh, but shit. um, Depends. You definitely. It's difficult to say you do anything for anybody else specifically to help them because a lot of the times the rush you get from help people get addicted to and then they claim to be virtuous when really they're just self-obsessed with feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to know the difference between someone who's genuinely trying to help you and someone who's trying to help themselves because they're so fucking empty. All they can do is help others, which is crazy because it's like, what's the downside? But Um, yeah. In terms of morality, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of the definition of morality, but for my own compass, I'd say the thing of the two of the options, the thing that is the most virtuous, and
Mm.
of the options, the thing that is going to provide the greatest good for the greatest number of people.
Does that make it like? No, we keep throwing the word out there. Does that make it objective though?
Well, I
It's the most people, not all people.
well, if it was all people, it'd be the most people.
What? Yeah. Are you saying all people? I thought you just said
It depends
more.
on the situation. So if it's so give me a scenario and I'll tell you where I would how I would take care of it. I
I'm
guess.
bad at making examples.
That is a hard question. I guess to me that's just my compass. Like that's kind of how I look at things.
But I mean, but like, what has made you come to that conclusion, or why do you think you can trust your compass?
It's not my compass. It's if I wanted to do something
Mm-hmm.
and I knew it would hurt more people and it helped, it wouldn't be virtuous. Therefore, it wouldn't be moral. So, for example, if I wanted to turn left and I would, or the train track example with the fucking train track, I would kill the one guy. You know that problem, the trolley problem, where it's like, do you know that problem?
With like a guy on the on the railroad, and
So you spawn next to a lever, and you're in front of a train, and the train is gonna kill somebody. There's two tracks. And it's gonna kill 5 people unless you pull it and kill one guy. But if you pull it and kill one guy, you kill him because you pulled the lever.
oh
But if you just
yeah,
let it kind of happen, 5 people die, but it's technically not your fault because you didn't change anything. I would kill the
yeah.
one guy
Mm-hmm.
because less people die.
Hmm. I haven't heard that before.
Some people wouldn't because they don't want a hand in anybody's death.
Mm-hmm.
But it just makes more sense to me to not allow more people to suffer if I get to choose.
Wouldn't you
Let's
say everybody? Most people have that. I wouldn't say everybody, but most people have that same.
No, you think so, but people would literally sit there and watch because they don't want their hand in anybody's death.
I was sorry, I wasn't talking about that specific example.
Oh.
I was just saying. I guess the analogy from that example. Do you think that most people would agree that they would rather do more good for one person, more good for multiple people instead of just more good for one person?
Um no, because some people are self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
So if it benefits if there's a scenario where there are two options and one benefited a bunch of people and then one benefited less people and themselves, they would choose that option.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it depends. I'd have to have an example drawn, but I want to say I'd choose the first one, but I don't know 100%.
So, so going off you saying that many people are self-absorbed, would you say that, I guess, at birth or from an early age, where do you think people stand on that spectrum?
I have
Do you
no
think
idea.
that's something that's like learned, or is it
Definitely learned,
like
yeah.
taught? So it's not.
Um, well, are you talking about you're asking what is learned? Self-absorption and the choices that people take care of
I
themselves versus
guess
others.
it's really, yeah. I guess it's selflessness versus selfishness. Yeah.
I'd say I'd definitely say it's learned, and
Mm-hmm.
and because it has to be a result of multiple attempts and seeing how those have played out over time. So
Yeah.
if you've only ever helped yourself, then odds are in the future you're going to help yourself, because you've just never fucking allowed yourself the opportunity to feel what it's like to be virtuous and help somebody else. But if you've only ever helped somebody else, you will help somebody else even if it damages yourself. So you can kind of see like which is worse. You don't really know, because there's people that are self-destructive in helping others, which is damn near just as bad as being self-absorbed. Because if you kill yourself trying to help somebody else, that then your life still ends.
Yeah, true. So would you say with that hmm, hmm. So what exactly is it that is taught though?
Is what?
Or what is it that's taught? Like if we're talking about
Well,
selflessness, like what
it's not so taught,
okay.
more so it's learned through experience, I'd
You think
say.
it's more so?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So it's less classroom setting or your parents telling you shit versus you doing something and realizing the effects of it.
But you're not the type of person that sees that as like, I would say majority of people could come to that conclusion that I think we're all born with an understanding that there is like a difference between the two. But I think we're always more inclined from the womb to choose selfishness. And like you said, through experiences, we have to choose, or through experiences, we learn to choose selflessness. But do you think like that same ability, same characteristics of what we're born with, on top of what we later choose to be more inclined to adopt, like the idea of selflessness? Do you think that's you like find that as something that is objectively innate within us?
I think
To
that
eventually make that transition?
I believe that I'll answer this with a example.
Mm-hmm.
If there were two people and they're born on completely different sides of the world, and one is a girl in a tribe and she gets left alone and she has to fend for herself for 20 fucking years, and she goes and lives in New York, she's not going to help anybody but herself. But if there's a woman who's born into a family of like nurses, she'd be the complete opposite of the spectrum. And so out of the womb, I don't think, besides I said this in a video. I said, I don't think I posted it yet, but I said out of the womb, I don't think we have anything besides the need for nourishment, fucking sleep, and that's kind of it. And
Mm-hmm.
like everything else is kind of taught over time, because you don't even know what helping yourself is until you've helped yourself. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And you don't know how to do that until somebody teaches you. Like you'll never know to fucking kill a rabbit unless somebody shows you. And the ability to do that won't even come until you're like maybe 6 tops or minimum. And for those 6 years, there's somebody there. And I think the influences that person has on you are part of the experience of learning and nurturing as opposed to nature. So I think besides like, and also arousal. So arousal, fucking food and sleep, and I think that's it, is all nature, and then everything that comes after is nurtured, in my opinion. There's definitely science behind it, and I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd argue that, yeah, like uh, to answer your question, the want to either help yourself or others is a result of your past experiences and your observations therein. And if you've observed more times where you've helped others and there's been a better result, then you're more inclined to help others in the future, vice versa.
And you see that as a something that we choose because really when we see the fruit of it, when we see the fruit of making that decision, that's really why we continue to pursue or choose that.
Yes.
So, I'm just taking mental notes for future questions and writing some stuff down.
Are you typing hella notes or something?
Yeah, I got a whole document up.
Oh shit.
That's why I said we need a part 2 because I gotta.
Yeah, you gotta go soon too.
I'm saying everything I hear you say, I'm not gonna respond to directly. Well, not right now, but like, I want to like put my thoughts together about a better response. 'Cause I don't think I respond as good as I can. I think I respond better by waiting and thinking about it than
Yeah.
just trying to make it now. But no, I'm taking. I hear everything you're saying. Taking this. Okay. What?
I'm trying to figure out where you're thinking.
You gotta see in the next episode, bro.
Shit, I'll probably upload this in like a week and a half because I have like 6 or 7 videos scheduled.
No, really?
I think until like maybe the 25th or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just like come back home 3-4 a.m. fucking flip this thing open, say a bunch of shit, schedule it. So this will be that.
Yeah, YouTube and Instagram. You got a TikTok going too, or just YouTube and Instagram?
TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, yeah. So
Okay.
so what I'll do is I'll film a video. If I say something I think is insightful, I'll like chop it up, throw it on TikTok. I get most of my subs from YouTube Shorts actually. So I'll make a short and then I'll put it on Instagram, just cause. I don't think I get like any views on Instagram or TikTok. I just kind of post it, just cause.
Gotcha. Okay. I appreciate the conversation, definitely.
Oh, you're wrapping up. All right.
Oh no, not. I wasn't wrapping up, but I was like, I was going to ask you one more thing, just for my own. I guess that's still do with the conversation, but just really get the feel for like where you are mentally, spiritually, and like in your heart.
It's gonna be a hard ass question. All right, I'm ready.
It's not gonna be. No, it's not too hard. You may be able to answer yes or no. But if you were able, for like some reason, to come to the conclusion, whether it be Judaism, Christianity, Islam, that 100% without a doubt, everything within that sacred text is true, and everything they said about their God is true, would you drop everything and follow that faith? This is a question that's gonna see where you're, like for me, where your mind versus where your heart is about, based off your response.
Are you asking if I believed what I believe?
Well, not presently.
If I come to the
conclusion, I'm saying, okay, based off like what you said in a previous video, where some stuff you just like to have visible or tangible evidence for, or you have like an intimate experience. If you were able to have one of those three or all three combination, and it aligned 100% with a specific religion, would you be inclined to still follow that religion?
Of course. If I came to the conclusion that there was no other option, then yes. But there has to be like absolutely no like question.
Like no questions, like at all, like everything about the Bible, about the Quran, you wouldn't have to have any questions. What do you mean by?
For me to believe in God, yes, I'd have to be doubtless. But for me to believe in the Word, no. I kind of just, because the Word's really big, and from what I've seen so far, it just fucking makes sense logically. Any person with reasonable, conclusive skills can come to the fucking conclusion that a lot of it makes sense and is difficult to argue against. So, I mean, in terms of believing in the word, I haven't read it all, but from what I
Hmm.
know, it makes sense. Um, in terms of a specific religion, I don't know. The odds I'm gonna read the fucking Torah are pretty slim, so that's probably out. Odds I'm gonna read the Quran are
I don't
pretty
even know where you
slim,
get
so
one. Yeah,
pretty slim. I don't really want to wear the hat thing, anyways,
yeah.
so I'm all good with that. But I mean, I know Christians, and I live in North America, so the odds I'm a
Mhm.
Christian are higher by default. So, um, yeah, I
Well,
mean,
the reason I was asking, I saw this. Someone posed this question online, and he was speaking of, like in the debate, he was speaking of like a time he had a previous conversation with somebody, um, and they asked him essentially the same question, but like they had all the evidence for this. I guess he was using Christianity as an example, but for all the evidence pointing to Christianity, and there was no doubting that it's like 100% true. Would you like convert to it? Would you believe in it? Would you put your faith in it? And the guy that this man is speaking to still said no.
what the fuck?
Yeah, and logically, yeah. So I was just,
That's literally irrational.
well, yeah, that's exactly what he said. So that's why I was asking if it was like, I didn't. That's why I want to see where your like mind or heart is, because like if you would say, what if that like as that person said no, they still like wouldn't believe it. Obviously, there's a problem within the heart. Like there's like a
Yeah,
grudge, something like
yeah.
emotionally or spiritually within them that is holding them back. Because like logically, like you just said, you have to. It's like irrational not to see everything, all the arrows pointing to it, and still not accept it. Like there's something internally
That's just a
going on.
vendetta at that point.
Well, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was just making sure that that wasn't really the case. I was seeing just how open you were.
Yeah, nah, I wouldn't be fucking
Okay.
allowing these Spanish dudes to come to my door and read me the Bible every Sunday if I didn't want to believe. I want
Uh,
to, but I just can't right now. Maybe I
okay.
will in the
Well,
future. I don't know. But,
last. Define can't, because I remember
uh,
you texted it to me last time. I didn't.
part of it is what I talked about God earlier, where it's like there's just a bunch of missing pieces to the puzzle. Maybe it's partly because I haven't read the Bible cover to cover, or maybe it's because I'm
Do I look
missing.
weird right now?
No,
Do you see me?
yeah, I can see and hear you fine.
Alright.
Um,
Okay.
I
So
don't know.
can't is in, so
I
you
can.
have.
I don't. So today, I'll say this. Today, I wouldn't have a problem following the. I've used the word convictions probably 50 fucking times. Following the guidelines of what it means to be a Christian,
Yeah.
because like it is proven to improve your life. So there, it's like, what are you going to argue against? But I'm talking about believing in God as a higher power, as He's described in the text. I just can't.
Okay.
Partly because of the suffering, and I don't really understand what He does. Um,
Okay. Well, that'll be part of the conversation next time. Then we didn't touch on that much.
okay,
Um.
cool.
So suffering is one thing you want to discuss, and then,
Oh, also,
well, I guess
did we finish the? Did you answer about the divine plan?
no, I didn't get the answer. We went off something
Okay.
else.
Right?
I started talking about like,
Did you write that shit down?
yeah, I got it now.
All
We
right.
started talking about free will, then it just led to other questions. So yeah, that was like the first question I didn't answer. Um, okay, gotcha. Hmm.
Yeah,
I
you're
guess
right.
the last thing. So, I mean, well, I obviously have to finish it next time, but and I'll send you this other video. This guy is like a previous I guess he's a detective or works like law enforcement, so he solves different um, like murder cases or whatever. I just really like the analogy he used. Um, well, I guess didn't not really like it, but it just made sense. I want to see what you think about it. But in terms of this is my last question. In terms of the last little animated video I just showed you, just to see what you thought about it. What do you think? I know you said like an intimate experience, but what is your idea, or how would you ideally like to or want to, or what would make sense to you in terms of God making Himself known to mankind, or a higher being making Himself known to mankind?
To everybody or me? Because I feel like the interpretation would
Is
be
it,
kind of
you think
different.
it's a different answer?
Yeah, I feel like to me, I had I'd have to be not looking for him, and he'd have to show himself. I feel like that would kind of solidify it. But fucking in like a serious way that I can't explain logically, and it'd have to, and then I'd be like, okay, no other conclusion. This is what it is. But to mankind, it'd have to be as simple as, well, it's hard because some people don't believe we went to the fucking moon. So it'd have to be like some serious propaganda from on his part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd have to touch the minds and hearts of everybody individually. And if he's the being he says he is, then he's capable of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I'll respond to it next time.
Okay.
Well, I have a response now, but man,
Gotta
yeah,
get on the
okay.
phone with the lady.
Yeah, man.
Nice. Congrats
All right, I
on that.
appreciate it, Lon. Just thank you.
Yeah, bro. It's made me think really hard. I think.
That's another thing we could talk about, like our different ideas about like marriage and family and stuff.
I feel like
One
I
being,
honestly I
one
feel like
being,
we'd have pretty similar thoughts about marriage and
and
family.
probably, probably.
I'm
I
definitely a
think the
pretty
why.
traditional dude. Oh. Oh shit, he's gone. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Is he gone? Wait. Hold on, Swallow. Let me. Oh shit. Hello?
Yes, my bad. I have a screen time on my phone, so I can't have access to any apps, especially since I just downloaded Discord. It just turned off at 10.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
You straight? All right, man.
All right, let me know your schedule. We can do it. Yeah, I'm free.
All right, all right.